Peppa Pig, Strawberries. Grandpa Pig is showing Peppa and George the strawberry he has grown.
"Why is it hiding in a little house, Grandpa?"
asked Peppa.
"Because the cheeky birds have eaten the rest of my strawberries, and I need to protect this last one,"
says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig tells Peppa that they can still eat strawberries. He knows the perfect place to go.
"Everybody in the car," he says. "It's time to visit the strawberry farm." "Have you come to pick strawberries?"
asked Miss Rabbit when they arrive.
"Yes, please, Miss Rabbit,"
says Peppa excitedly.
"Then you've come to the right place. We've got nothing but strawberries,"
says Miss Rabbit.
"Pick as many as you like."
Miss Rabbit takes Peppa, George, Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig out to the strawberry fields and gives them each a basket to put their strawberries in.
"Wow!"
gasped Peppa.
"There are so many strawberries."
Pedro Pony and his family are at the strawberry farm too.
"Hello, Pedro,"
cries Peppa.
"Have you picked a lot of strawberries?" "Yes,"
replies Pedro.
"but my mummy and daddy keep eating them."
Mr. and Mrs. Pony sigh. They have eaten too many strawberries. Peppa and George giggle. They love skipping along, picking strawberries and putting them in their basket.
"I must say, these strawberries do look lovely,"
says Granny Pig.
"The real test is to see if the strawberries taste any good,"
says Grandpa Pig, picking up a big juicy strawberry and biting into it.
"Actually, that is rather good."
Granny Pig eats a strawberry too.
Scrumptious.
Granny and Grandpa Pig eat lots of strawberries. Peppa and George are very good at picking strawberries and have nearly filled up their baskets. Peppa sings a song as they pick up the strawberries.
"Strawberry, strawberry, juicy, red and sweet. Strawberry, strawberry, they're so nice to eat."
Peppa and George's baskets are full of strawberries, but Granny and Grandpa Pig's baskets are empty.
"Granny, Grandpa, where are your strawberries?"
asked Peppa.
"In our tummies,"
replies Grandpa Pig.
"Maybe it's time to go home,"
says Granny Pig, rubbing her tummy. Danny Dog and his family has just arrived at the farm, ready to pick some strawberries. "Wow, look at all these lovely strawberries," says Captain Dog.
"Don't say that word,"
groans Grandpa Pig, holding his tummy. Granny and Grandpa Pig have eaten too many strawberries.
"Thank you for all the strawberries, Miss Rabbit,"
says Peppa.
"Now we can go home and make strawberry jam for everyone."
Say Granny and Grandpa Pig.
"Maybe we'll do that tomorrow, Peppa."
Peppa and George love strawberries. Everyone loves strawberries. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Easter Basket. Peppa and George are making baskets for Miss Rabbit's Easter egg hunt. Peppa puts the craft box on the table. Thud!
I'm making my basket really big so I can fill it with lots of chocolate,
says Peppa.
It's going to be the best Easter ever.
Can you find this Easter egg? Peppa and George take their baskets to the Easter egg hunt.
Wow!
All their friends have made baskets too.
Hooray!
Ready, steady, go! Shouts Miss Rabbit through her megaphone. The children race around, searching for eggs to fill their baskets. Can you find this Easter egg? Miss Rabbit blows her whistle.
That was fun, says Peppa. I filled my basket right to the top. Oh no,
Susie Sheep gasps.
I put my basket down and now I can't find it. Don't worry, Susie,
says Peppa.
I'll help you look for your basket.
Hooray!
Everyone helps, but they can't find Susie's basket anywhere. Oh no! Can you find this Easter egg? On the way home, Peppa has an idea.
Can we go to Susie's house, please?
She asks. When they arrive, Peppa knocks on the door.
This is for you, Susie,
says Peppa, handing over her Easter basket.
Wow!
Cheers, Susie.
Thank you, Peppa.
Can you find this Easter egg? When they get home, Mummy and Daddy Pig have a surprise for Peppa. Giving your Easter basket to Susie was a very kind thing to do, says Daddy Pig. So we made you another basket, says Mummy Pig, and filled it right to the top.
Wow!
Wow, thank you, says Peppa. This really is the best Easter ever.
Can you find this Easter egg? The end. Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig's toy plane. Peppa and George are helping sort through a box of Granny Pig's old toys.
This is the dolly I had when I was little,
says Granny Pig.
Wow!
Peppa loves it, but Grandpa Pig isn't very interested. I can show you something really good, says Grandpa Pig. Come with me. We need to go to my shed, says Grandpa Pig. He leads Peppa, George and Granny Pig down the hill into the garden. Peppa brings the dolly with her. Grandpa Pig rummages in his shed and brings out a toy aeroplane.
Wow!
Airplane,
says George. George loves aeroplanes.
Can it fly?
asks Peppa. Of course it flies, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig pulls the levers on his remote control and the plane takes off.
It's the best little plane ever, Grandpa,
cheers Peppa.
but it would be better if it were bigger,
says Grandpa Pig thoughtfully.
Look after my dolly, please, Peppa,
says Granny Pig.
I'm going inside to get us all some nice fresh juice.
While Granny Pig is gone, Grandpa Pig rushes into his shed. He wheels out a much larger toy plane. "I made this bigger and better one," says Grandpa Pig. "Wow!" cries Peppa. "It even has a cockpit for the pilot."
Wow.
"Maybe Dolly would like to be the pilot," says Grandpa Pig. He takes the dolly and pops her into the cockpit. "But Granny said I should look after Dolly," says Peppa. "Dolly will be fine," says Grandpa Pig. The plane zooms up into the sky. "Orby!" shouts Grandpa Pig. He presses the remote control and the toy plane begins to loop the loop in the air. But as the plane turns upside down, Dolly falls out. "Oh no!" "Dolly!" cries Peppa. Grandpa Pig keeps pulling the green lever on the remote control. "No need to panic," he says nervously. The plane completes the loop and catches Dolly. "Hooray!" cries Peppa. "Let's try something even more exciting," says Grandpa Pig. Roar! The toy plane zooms towards the house. The plane flies through the open door. It flies over Granny Pig as she is looking in the fridge. "What was that?" asks Granny Pig. But the toy plane is gone before she can spot it. "Quick! Granny's on her way back," says Peppa. Grandpa Pig lands the toy plane on the grass.
Hooray!
"Juice for everyone," calls Granny Pig merrily. "Perfect timing," says Grandpa Pig. George and Peppa love toy aeroplanes. Everyone loves toy aeroplanes. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa. This is Peppa Pig. She lives with her mummy and daddy. And her little brother George. Peppa and her family have a red car.
Wow.
"Where are we going today?" asked Peppa. Peppa loves going to Digger World with her family. "It's fun when we all play together," says Peppa. Sometimes Peppa visits Granny and Grandpa Pig. They are part of her family too. "Can we stay for tea?" asked Peppa. There are lots more members in Peppa's family. Baby Alexander is the youngest. Everyone in Peppa's family is different, but there is only one thing that they all like to do. Jump in muddy puddles. Peppa loves her family. Everyone loves Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Easter Egg Hunt. It is springtime. Peppa is going to do something very exciting today. Grandpa Pig made an Easter egg hunt for Peppa and her friends.
There are lots of chocolate eggs hidden in the garden,
Says Grandpa Pig.
Are you ready to find them? Yes, Grandpa Pig,
Everyone says.
off you go then.
says Grandpa Pig.
But be careful not to step on my plants. We promise to be really careful, Grandpa,
says Peppa. Peppa soon finds an egg hidden in a plant pot.
I found one,
shouts Peppa. Rebecca Rabbit finds an egg under a bush. And Freddy Fox finds another in a wheelbarrow. Everyone has a chocolate egg except for Richard.
I wonder where the other eggs are,
says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig puts his hat on Richard's head. When he picks it up again, a chocolate egg appears underneath, like magic. Now Richard has an egg too.
Did you enjoy your Easter egg hunt, children?
asks Granny Pig.
We found all the chocolate eggs,
says Peppa.
They're in our tummies now,
adds Freddy Fox.
Good,
says Granny Pig.
Now let's go and see our chickens, Jemima, Sarah and Neville. They have a special surprise. But they're just boring chickens, Granny,
says Peppa.
They're not special. They have eggs too, Peppa,
says Granny Pig.
Can we eat them?
asks Freddy Fox.
No, Freddy,
laughs Granny Pig.
The eggs are about to hatch.
The baby chicks are hatching. There are 3.
Now that the chicks have hatched, it really is Easter,
says Granny Pig. Peppa and her friends pretend to be baby chicks. They all sing,
I'm a little chick singing chip, chip, chip. I like to pick up food with my beak, beak, beak. I've a fluffy yellow head and some straw for my bed. And I jump up and down singing chip, chip, chip.
The end. Princess Peppa. It is bedtime for Peppa and George. Mummy Pig tucks him in and turns out the light. Good night, little piggies, she whispers. Downstairs, Granny and Grandpa Pig arrive to have dinner with Mummy and Daddy Pig. They all sit down to eat, but suddenly they hear noises coming from upstairs.
Is that Peppa and George?
asks Grandpa Pig. Looks like the little piggies aren't sleeping after all. Mummy Pig goes upstairs to check on Peppa and George. They are wide awake.
Peppa, George, quickly now, hop into bed,
says Mummy Pig.
You're making lots of noise and it's too late for you to be up. We aren't sleepy yet,
says Peppa.
Oh no! Will you tell us a story?
asks Peppa.
We promised to go to sleep after a story.
All right, says Mummy Pig. Once upon a time, there was
a princess.
Peppa jumps in. Oh yes, says Mummy Pig. Once upon a time there was a courageous princess named Peppa.
Wow.
She lived in a castle with Sir George the brave knight.
And the princess and the knight had a cook who made the most delicious food ever,
adds Peppa. Of course, says Mummy Pig. She made cupcakes and cookies.
Cherry jelly tower,
says Peppa.
That was the princess's favourite food. The princess and the knight invited their friend Pedro Pony and they ate all the yummy desserts.
Yes, said Mummy Pig. And afterward, everyone was so full, they fell right asleep. The end.
Then they woke up. cries Peppa, and they invited a wizard to the castle.
A wizard? asked Mummy Pig.
Yes, says Peppa. And he did a big magic show, but then all of a sudden, a big green dragon came to the castle.
Peppa continues.
Laughs George. Arr! Oh no, says Mummy Pig, how scary. The dragon wasn't scary, says Peppa. He was just very, very hungry. So the king came and ordered the cook to make a picnic, says Peppa.
He did?
Mummy Pig asks with a yawn. Yes, says Peppa. The cook, the wizard, the princess, the knight, the king, Pedro Pony and the dragon sat down to a big feast.
And then they went to sleep, murmurs Mummy Pig as her head drops to one side.
No, says Peppa. They had a party. The princess arrived at the party in a beautiful carriage, says Peppa.
Wow.
She came with her friend Susie Sheep. Sir George pulled the carriage with his horse. All of their friends came to the castle to dance. There was Rebecca Rabbit and Pedro Pony and Danny Dog.
Downstairs, Daddy Pig, Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig are wondering what is taking Mummy Pig so long. Maybe we should see what's going on upstairs, says Daddy Pig.
I think I hear snoring, says Granny Pig. Mummy Pig must have finally gotten Peppa and George to fall asleep.
But Peppa and George are not snoring. Mummy Pig is. It looks like Princess Peppa is the best at telling bedtime stories, says Daddy Pig. The end. Peppa Pig. Read it yourself. Recycling fun. Mummy Pig, Peppa Pig, George, car, Daddy Pig, truck, Mr. Bull, newspapers, cans, bottles, Miss Rabbit. Mr. Bull is collecting the rubbish. Mr. Bull puts the rubbish in the back of his truck.
Wow.
Peppa George and Mummy Pig are collecting rubbish too. They collect bottles, cans, and newspapers. We can recycle much of this rubbish, says Mummy Pig. They put the rubbish in the car. Mummy Pig has all the bottles. Peppa has all the cans. George has all the newspapers. Miss Rabbit is recycling rubbish too. She is recycling cars. Daddy Pig recycles the bottles. Mummy Pig and Peppa recycle the cans.
I like this,
Peppa says. George recycles the newspapers. Oh no! Miss Rabbit is recycling Daddy Pig's car. Stop! Says Daddy Pig. Stop! That's not recycling. This is our car. Oh, says Miss Rabbit. I like recycling too much. Our car is not rubbish, says Daddy Pig.
No, says Peppa. We like our car.
The end. Peppa Pig Rock Pools. Peppa and George are at the seaside with Granny and Grandpa Pig.
Where has the sand gone?
Asked Peppa. Peppa and George love making sandcastles.
There aren't any sand on this beach,
says Granny Pig. Peppa is sad. George begins to cry.
Now, children, don't be upset,
says Granny Pig.
There are lots of exciting things to do on this rocky beach.
Grandpa Pig explains that when the sea goes out, little pools of water are left amongst the rocks.
Wow.
They're called rock pools,
says Granny Pig.
In every rock pool, there is something special that the sea has left behind,
says Grandpa Pig. Peppa spots something glittering in a nearby rock pool. Peppa puts her hand in the rock pool and pulls out a shiny coin.
Maybe it's a pirate's treasure,
suggests Grandpa Pig.
Let's make a collection of all the things we find,
says Granny Pig.
There's nothing special in this one,
says Peppa, standing by another rock pool. Grandpa Pig dips his hand into the rock pool, and a crab pinches his finger.
Ouch!
shouts Grandpa Pig. The crab lets go.
Naughty Mr. Crab,
says Peppa. The crab clacks its pincers and walks sideways into the rock pool. Peppa and George pretend to be crabs. They walk sideways and snap their fingers together. Peppa and George chase Grandpa Pig.
Pinch, pinch,
they cry.
There are two naughty crabs trying to pinch me,
says Grandpa Pig.
Go back to your little rock pools.
Yes,
says Peppa. Let's look in more rock pools.
In the next rock pool, Peppa finds a shell.
Wow.
Can you hear the sea in it?
asks Granny Pig. Peppa holds the shell to her ear. She can hear a sound like waves.
I love my seashell,
says Peppa. George picks up a rock with a spiral pattern inside it.
Wow.
George has found a fossil,
explains Grandpa Pig.
A fossil is the remains of an animal that lived long ago when there were dinosaurs. Dinosaur,
shouts George. Grandpa Pig finds a little fish trapped in the next rock pool.
The little fish says she wants to go back to the sea,
says Peppa. Peppa uses her bucket to rescue the little fish.
Don't worry, Mrs. Fish,
says Peppa.
You'll soon be back with your friends.
Peppa carries the bucket to the sea, and the fish leaps happily into the water with a big splash.
I love rock pools,
cheers Peppa. Everyone loves rock pools. The end. Peppa Pig, Tooth Fairy. Peppa and George are eating their favourite food, spaghetti. Suddenly, something falls onto Peppa's plate.
What's that?
Peppa cries. It's your tooth, Daddy Pig laughs. If you put your tooth under the pillow tonight, the tooth fairy will pay you a visit. She will take the tooth and leave you a shiny coin, says Mummy Pig. Good night, Peppa. Good night, George, says Mummy Pig. Good night, my little piggies, grunts Daddy Pig. Peppa puts her tooth under the pillow for the tooth fairy.
Let's stay awake all night and see the tooth fairy,
says Peppa. Giggles George.
George, where's the tooth fairy?
Peppa asks.
She's very late.
But George is so tired he has fallen fast asleep.
I'm not going to sleep.
Snores Peppa. When everything is quiet, something appears at the window. The tooth fairy has arrived, but Peppa is fast asleep. The tooth fairy pushes a shiny coin under the pillow and takes Peppa's tiny tooth.
Peppa, George, wake up. It's morning,
says Mummy Pig brightly. Did the tooth fairy come? Daddy Pig asks.
No,
says Peppa sadly. Let's look under your pillow, says Daddy Pig. Look, Peppa, the tooth fairy has been, and she's left you a shiny coin.
Hooray!
Peppa laughs.
Next time I will stay awake and I will see the tooth fairy.
The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Fairy Tale. Once upon a time, Peppa and George were looking at storybooks together.
This one has 3 bears, porridge, and a hungry wolf looking for an old lady to eat,
said Peppa. George looked worried.
Don't worry, George,
added Peppa.
There's always a happy ending,
sighed Peppa.
I wish we lived in a fairy story.
Peppa, George, called Mummy Pig. It's time to go to Granny and Grandpa Pig's house for lunch. We're going to walk there through the woods.
But we want to go on a magical fairy tale adventure, said Peppa.
Maybe if we look hard enough, we might see some magical things on the way, said Daddy Pig.
This doesn't feel like a magical fairy tale place,
said Peppa as they walked through the woods. It feels a bit magical to me, said Daddy Pig, looking at the trees around them.
Yes, agreed Mummy Pig. This is like the patch in the Little Red Riding Hood.
I wouldn't be surprised if we bumped into the big bad wolf, said Daddy Pig. Just then, Daddy Pig bumped straight into Mr. Wolf. Oh, hello, Mr. Wolf, said Daddy Pig. How are you? Very well, replied Mr. Wolf. I'm just a bit hungry.
I'm going to my granny's house for lunch,
said Peppa. Are you really? asked Mr. Wolf. Well, I'll catch you later then. Bye.
That was just like Little Red Riding Hood,
gasped Peppa.
Meeting Mr. Wolf in the woods.
I'm not sure which way to go now, mumbled Daddy Pig.
There's a little cottage over there,
said Peppa.
Maybe someone inside will know the way.
Peppa and her family walked through a rose garden and up to the cottage. Hello, called Daddy Pig, knocking on the door. As Daddy Pig knocked, the door opened all by itself.
Is there anybody home?
asked Mummy Pig, wondering who would live in a cottage in the middle of the woods Inside the cottage there were 3 chairs and 3 bowls of porridge. "That porridge looks delicious," said Daddy Pig. "I wonder whose it is." "Hello, Peppa," cried Belinda Bear, spotting her friend.
Hello, Belinda, said Peppa.
"Oh, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Bear," said Mummy Pig. "Sorry to trouble you, but the door just opened, so we came inside."
"That's quite all right," said Mrs. Bear. "It's lovely to see you all." "Are you going to stay for lunch, Peppa?"
asked Belinda.
"We're just having porridge, and it's not too hot, not too cold." "But just right," finished Peppa.
Belinda and Peppa laughed together.
"We're actually on our way to have lunch at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house," said Mammy Pig.
"But we got a bit lost. Could you point us in the right direction, please?" Mr. Bear pointed the way, and Peppa and her family set off again.
"Wow," said Peppa. "That was just like Goldilocks and the 3 bears."
"With a little cottage and 3 chairs," said Daddy Pig. "And 3 bowls of delicious porridge. I may have had just a little spoonful."
"Daddy!"
Peppa giggled.
"It's like we're in a fairy tale."
Peppa, George, Mammy and Daddy Pig followed the path through the woods to the bottom of a hill. "I think we need more porridge to get up this hill," puffed Daddy Pig.
"Don't worry, Daddy," said Peppa. "We're going to have lunch soon."
When they arrived at the house on the top of the hill, Peppa knocked on the door.
"Granny, we're here."
Everyone was very surprised when the door was opened by Mr. Wolf. "Oh!" they all gasped. "Oh, hello," said Mr. Wolf.
"Mr. Wolf," said Peppa, "why are you here?"
"I'm just round for something to eat," replied Mr. Wolf. "Granny Pig has made a lovely lunch. Granny Pig poked her head around the door.
"Hello, everyone,"
she said.
"Oh, hello, Granny,"
said Peppa, a little relieved.
"We're very hungry after all our walking." "Don't worry, Peppa,"
said Granny Pig.
"Lunch is ready now."
When Peppa stepped inside, she saw Wendy Wolf was there too.
"Hello, Peppa,"
said Wendy.
"What have you been doing today?" "Hello, Wendy," replied Peppa. "We've been having a magical adventure in the fairy tale woods." "Ooh,"
gasped Wendy. Everyone sat down to eat Granny Pig's delicious lunch.
"Why was it a magical adventure?"
asked Wendy.
"It's like Goldilocks and the 3 bears and Little Red Riding Hood," said Peppa. "Wow," gasped Wendy. "I love fairy stories."
Everyone loved fairy stories. "Yum, yum," said Mr. Wolf, tucking in. Everyone loved Granny Pig's lunch, especially hungry Mr. Wolf. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Frosty Fairy Tale. Once upon a time, it was a cold and quiet winter's day. Peppa and George were playing indoors and making lots of noise. "Peppa, George," called Mummy Pig, "why don't you look in your box of books and pick a nice story to read?" Peppa and George searched through the box and pulled out their favourite books. They giggled with excitement as they looked through the pages. Then Peppa danced all over the living room, pretending she was in a fairy tale. "Snowman!" cheered George, holding his favourite book. Peppa and George loved stories. That evening, Granny and Grandpa Pig came over to stay the night. "Hello, Granny and Grandpa," said Peppa and George. "Hello, little one," said Granny Pig, giving them both a big hug. "It's time for bed now," said Mummy Pig. "Please can Granny and Grandpa tell us a bedtime story?" asked Peppa. "Of course, Peppa," said Granny Pig. "We'd love to." Once Peppa and George were tucked up in bed, Grandpa Pig showed them a beautiful snow globe. Then he began to tell a story. "Once upon a time," he said, "there was a cold and magical place called Frosty Kingdom." "How do you get to Frosty Kingdom?" asked Peppa. "First, you have to travel over the snowy hills," said Grandpa Pig. "Then you journey through a deep, dark forest. Finally, you must climb a huge mountain until you reach the winter castle at the very top." "I bet the Sugar Plum Fairy lives there and a Snow Queen," said Peppa. "Snowman," said George. Peppa and George loved Grandpa Pig's story. "I wish we could go to Frosty Kingdom too," said Peppa, as she and George drifted off to sleep. In the morning, Peppa and George woke up to the sound of jingling bells. They peered through the window to find out where the noise was coming from. "It's snowing," gasped Peppa, "and Granny and Grandpa are outside with a big sleigh and 3 reindeers." Just then, Mummy and Daddy Pig came into the bedroom. "Granny and Grandpa are taking us all on an adventure," said Mummy Pig. "We're going to Frosty Kingdom." "Frosty Kingdom was in Grandpa's story," said Peppa. "We'll be needing these," said Mummy Pig, handing out winter coats and woolly jumpers. "We're travelling by sleigh." "Hooray!" cheered Peppa and George, jumping up and down. Everyone climbed into the sleigh, and they set off. "Which way is Frosty Kingdom?" asked Daddy Pig. Grandpa Pig pointed far into the distance. "First you have to travel over the snowy hills," he began. "Then you journey through a deep dark forest," said Peppa. "Finally, you must climb a huge mountain until you reach the winter castle at the very top." "That's right, Peppa," said Grandpa Pig. After they went over the snowy hills and through the deep, dark forest, they started to climb the huge mountain. "Are we nearly there yet?" asked Peppa. Suddenly George saw something move. "Snowman!" he squealed. Everyone turned to see a snowman waving at them. "Hello!" said Peppa. "We are on our way to Frosty Kingdom." Peppa and George waved goodbye, and the reindeers pulled the sleigh further up the mountain. Up the mountain they climbed, up and up and up, until the sleigh reached a clearing and the reindeers stopped. "Are we nearly there now?" asked Peppa. "I can't see the magical winter castle." "I think we may be lost," said Grandpa Pig. "I'm sure it was this way." "Oh no," Peppa sighed. "What are we going to do?" "If only there were someone here to help," said Grandpa Pig. "Hello, Peppa and George," a voice said. "Look, it's Miss Rabbit," said Peppa. "Actually, Peppa, I'm the Sugar Plum Fairy," said Miss Rabbit. "You're on the right path. Frosty Kingdom is further up the mountain."
This is so magical, cried Peppa. The sleigh climbed higher and higher once more, and was nearly at the top of the mountain when, "Welcome to Mr. Fox's official Frosty Kingdom shop," said Mr. Fox. Everyone hopped off the sleigh to take a quick look around. Daddy Pig loaded up a basket with sponges, telephones, and wool. "I'm sure these will come in handy at Frosty Kingdom," he said. Everyone piled back onto the sleigh, and they set off yet again. Finally they arrived at Frosty Kingdom. "We're here," announced Grandpa Pig. Peppa saw something sparkling up ahead. As they got nearer, she gasped. "It's the Winter Castle, and there's the Snow Queen. Look, it's Miss—" "Hello, everyone," interrupted Miss Rabbit. "I'm the Snow Queen. Welcome to Frosty Kingdom." Peppa and George waved and giggled excitedly. "I wish we could stay here," said Peppa. "Peppa, this is our cabin," said Grandpa Pig. "We're going to stay here for the night." "Wow!" cried Peppa. "This is the best Frosty fairy tale adventure ever. Thank you, Granny and Grandpa." "Ho, ho, ho. You are most welcome," said Grandpa Pig, smiling. Peppa and George raced inside the cabin and looked around excitedly. "It's like we're in your story," cried Peppa. "Maybe we are," said Grandpa Pig, laughing. Peppa loved Frosty fairy tales. Everyone loved Frosty fairy tales. They